All right, let's crack the code on India's Information Technology Act. This is the law that honestly rules almost everything we do online. And if you're studying for an exam on this, you're in the right place. We're going to break down the key concepts you absolutely have to know. Let's get right into it. So let's kick things off with a classic exam question. What is the actual legal difference between a computer and a computer system? Seems simple, right? But in cyber law, getting this wrong can be a really big deal. We'll circle back to the answer in just a moment. But first, we have to go back to the beginning. Why was this thing, the Information Technology Act of 2000, even created in the first place? What was the point? To put it simply, this act is the official rulebook for our digital lives. It's the reason an online purchase is legally binding, why you can file taxes electronically, and it's what gives a law teeth to go after cybercriminals. So the whole thing was built on these 5 main pillars. First, make electronic records legally legit. Second, do the same for digital signatures. Third, make things like e-commerce and online government services possible. Fourth, actually define what a cybercrime is and how to punish it. And finally, keep an eye on the people who issue those digital signatures. It was all about building trust and structure for the internet. Okay, now let's get to the real meat of it, the stuff you'll definitely see on your exam. Section 2 of the Act, think of it as the official digital dictionary. You really have to get these terms down cold because everything else builds on them. We're going to start with the basics, the absolute building blocks of the digital world, at least according to the law. So a computer under the law is defined super broadly. It's not just your laptop. It's pretty much any high-speed device that processes data. You can just think of it as the brain of any operation. And here we go, the answer to our first question. A computer system is the whole setup. It's the brain plus all its connected parts. Your keyboard, monitor, printer, the whole shebang. The key word to remember here is collection of devices. That's the difference. And a computer network? Well, that's just the connection that lets all these computers and systems talk to each other. It's the digital highway, you could say. All right, so we've defined the hardware. Now let's talk about the people and the platforms involved, because knowing who's who is critical when you're trying to figure out who's legally responsible for what. The addressee is pretty straightforward. It's just the person who's supposed to get the message. If I send you an email, you're the addressee. Simple as that. Now pay close attention to this one. This term, intermediary, is a huge deal for your exam. These are the go-betweens. We're talking about your internet service provider, search engines like Google, social media sites, anyone who handles data for other people. The law has very specific rules for them.
Okay, last definition, but it's a big one. This piece of tech is literally the backbone of security and trust for the entire digital world.
It's called an asymmetric crypto system. I know, it sounds incredibly complicated, right? But the idea behind it is actually really clever and pretty simple. It's all about a pair of keys, a private key that only you have, and a public key that you can give to anyone. Let me show you what I mean. This visual explains it perfectly. Think of the public key like a special kind of padlock. Anyone can snap it shut on a box, but, and this is the clever part, only your unique private key can open it. This makes sure that only the right person can ever read the message. It's what guarantees confidentiality. So, why have we spent all this time on definitions? Because when a cybercrime happens, these exact words become the evidence. They're what prosecutors use to build a case. Let's see how it all connects. Okay, here is another classic exam scenario. What is the difference between Section 66C and 66D? Well, Section 66C is about stealing the tools of identity, like a password or a digital signature. Section 66D, on the other hand, is about using a fake identity to trick someone. So think of it this way. One is stealing the key, the other is using a fake key to commit fraud. This table right here is your cheat sheet for the big offenses. Take a second to look it over. But notice the really important distinction between Section 43, which is a civil wrong where you pay compensation for damages, and Section 66, which is a criminal offense. That's where you get into potential jail time for things like hacking. Now, let's zoom in on one of the most powerful and, honestly, game-changing ideas to come out of the IT Act, the digital signature. So, just think about it for a second. What's the biggest problem with any digital file? You can copy it 1,000,000 times perfectly, and you can change it without leaving a single trace. So, how can you ever trust that what you're looking at is the real, original version? Yeah, that's the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? It's at the very heart of e-commerce, online banking, you name it. How can we be absolutely sure that a digital contract is legit and hasn't been messed with? And the answer is the digital signature. It uses that same clever asymmetric crypto system we talked about to basically put a unique, tamper-proof digital seal on a document. And what that seal guarantees is four absolutely crucial things. Authenticity, you know exactly who signed it. Integrity, you know it hasn't been changed one bit. Non-repudiation, the person who signed it can't come back later and say, "Nope, wasn't me." And, most importantly, it has full legal validity. It's just as good as a signature in ink. Okay, we're in the home stretch now. Let's do a super fast, rapid-fire review of the absolute must-know points you need for exam day. If you're cramming last minute, this is your slide. Remember, Section 2 is your dictionary. Understand the role of an intermediary. Know the three guarantees of a digital signature: authenticity, integrity, non-repudiation. And finally, really nail down the difference between the penalty sections, especially 66C versus 66D. If you get those down, you're going to be in great shape. So I'll leave you with a final question to think about. We've got all these laws written down, but in the real world, this borderless, constantly changing digital space, which of these rules do you think is the absolute toughest for law enforcement to actually enforce, and why?